right?
Perfect. Welcome everyone to the 2021 Building Bridges Virtual Showcase, sponsored by the Partnership for Worker Education here at UMass. I am Lisa Korbieski and I will be your host for the evening. We will start with a few housekeeping items. The seminar is being recorded as you just heard. If you miss any part of this session or would like to forward it to someone who might be interested, there will be a replay of this and all previous sessions in the showcase on the Building Bridges website and Facebook page. A link will be put in the chat for you. I recommend you set your view mode as speaker for best viewing. Please have your video shut off and stay muted during the talks. I encourage you to put your questions and comments in the chat, which we will be monitoring. I would like to thank Lonnie Edwards for co-hosting with me and helping out behind the scenes. Also, a huge thank you to Jacob Carter for organizing the entire Building Bridges program and all of the initiatives happening across campus. We admire your dedication and really appreciate all of the encouragement and moral support you provide to us throughout the year. Tonight, we will be joined by artist and poet Wayne Gagnon, who will be sketching and riffing live from his studio. Wayne works in information technology. We might even convince him to give us a peek of his studio space. I would like to start out the evening by reading the land acknowledgement. We would like to begin this event by acknowledging that UMass stands on Nonotuck land. We would also like to acknowledge our neighboring Indigenous nations, the Nipmuc, the Wampanoag to the east, the Mohegan and Pequot to the south, the Mohican to the west, and the Abenaki to the north. Building Bridges is committed to honoring this truth and are in the process of designing programming to raise awareness about current issues in our state. And I'm going to stop screen sharing. Sorry about that. And now I'd like to hand it over to Wayne. Wayne?
All right, let me know when I have it.
You're all set. Go ahead.
All right. Hello, my name is Wayne, and I am here for basically a show and tell of what I did during my pandemic. I'm currently in the midst of a beautifully challenging and wonderfully messy midlife identity crisis. This has spilled over into my artistic life. And so during the pandemic, I really, didn't know what to do. I don't know what to do for art. I'm sort of missing my context, my inspiration. So what I did, I asked myself, what shall I do while I wait for my ever elusive artistic context and inspiration to arrive at my doorstep? And so this is Midlife Crisis Wayne. And so what I did was is I showed up. I thought way too much about it and decided that showing up was the best thing to do. And so I just started showing up day after day, month after month, week after week, and sketching and doodling. And just for the simple joy of sketching. I cut out these little cards on cardboard that's been repurposed from my recycle bin. And I just continue to sketch and sketch. Some of my favorite ones actually have ended up on canvas. And if I do have time at the end for a tour, I'll show you which ones actually showed up on canvas. So my main purpose for this is to figure out what is Wayne, who is Wayne, will I ever know, and does it really matter? So the easy question to answer is, what is Wayne? As Lisa said, I work for IT. I am an instructional technology developer. to just I love to take long drives in my car, just so I can find great places to take long walks. And for the context of this discussion, I am an artist and poet. Mostly you're going to be hanging out on the artist area because the whole different world. So who is Wayne? I got my cards mixed up. Let's start with my being a child of the 70s. And so I grew up listening to AM folk pop radio. And yes, sometimes when I'm sitting here in my studio, I will actually listen to elevator music. There's something wonderfully nostalgic about elevator music. And I have, living inside of me is a 10-year-old Wayne. And 10-year-old Wayne is perpetually driving my hopes and dreams. And then along comes middle-aged Wayne to provide me the means to accomplish my hopes and dreams, yet also provides the unwelcome doses of reality. Getting to the who is Wayne, I mean, those were the easy questions to answer. The not so simple answer is the fact that I got my cards mixed up. There we go. So it gets down to who is Wayne? Now I'm really hung up and I'm really driven, for better or worse. I'm driven by nostalgia and my gut feelings about places mostly. And that 70s music actually gives me that feeling, whether I've been to that place or not. I have nostalgia. And I actually just heard on the radio today, they were talking about whether nostalgia is healthy or not. And I still have to look into that because they had some points as to whether too much nostalgia, letting nostalgia drive your life, can be dangerous. But I currently live by my nostalgia. And so I'm not an English major or haven't done any really studies in English, but I love words and words that kind of center, or the words that have centered around the nostalgia. I really love, like in the Welsh word, and forgive me to all the folks who are Welsh. I will not pronounce this quite well, but I believe it is pronounced hiraeth. And that's a spiritual longing for a home which maybe never was. It's an echo of the lost places of our souls, past and our grief for them. And there's a German word, and I'm gonna have a hard time pronouncing this, I'm sure, but Fernweh is a far sickness. It's a feeling of, I had some sketches to go with those. Fernweh is a sickness, a far sickness, a feeling of homesick for a place you've never been or could never go. This one's going to be really hard to pronounce, but I think it's Sehnsucht, another German word for the inconsolable longing for something we don't even know what it is. And then the last of the four words is anemoia. I'm probably butchering that one as well, but it's a nostalgic sense of longing for the past you yourself have never lived. And I believe these four words really describe where my brain is at, and what drives me as far as my feelings go, and what drives me in terms of where there is a melancholy in my works, even though they do have a whimsical feel to them. Another thing that drives me is my wanderlust. I haven't quite figured out how to work my wanderlust into my artwork, but I'm a wanderer. I just love to know what's going on around the corner, what's going on over the next hill. So when it comes to what do I put on paper, that's the part that really that what do I put on paper really is the tough thing. So that problem is solved by just showing up. Sorry for stumbling. That's why the who of Wayne is very, very tough to answer. Is I really don't know what to put on paper, but I just keep showing up. I just keep showing up and putting things on paper over and over again, and hopefully the muse will show up. And as far as my history with drawing, it goes all the way back to back in the 70s when I used to basically copy pictures from Mad Magazine. I particularly liked Don Martin. He was my favorite Mad Magazine artist. And I can actually trace. I haven't done this yet visually. I want to do an experiment or a research mission. Is I want to trace my work all the way back to Don Martin. And I've talked about this in the past as well, was I do appreciate Don Martin's influence on everything even up to today. And so at one point I wanted to give him a call, give him a letter and say, hey, thanks. And I kept putting it off year after year. And finally I decided I was going to do it. And at that time, the internet had showed up. And so I just did a Google of Don Martin, and unfortunately, I had just missed him. He had passed. So that was a sad missed opportunity to share artistic chat with one of my idols. As far as my other influences, I think I'm influenced by Cubism, Surrealism, portraiture, comics, cartoons, and mid-century advertising. And if I were to coin a phrase or label my artwork, and this I totally made up, but it actually works. I do whimsically melancholy anthropomorphic surrealism. Totally made up, but it describes what I do. And back to the who is Wayne and what am I putting on the paper? Currently, I just have this mission to add whimsical levity and warm, fuzzy diversions to this mixed up and troubled world. I'm also a poet. I'm going to talk a little tiny bit about the poetry, but not much. I don't feel uncomfortable with the word poet, because I have no training in it. I just did it and over again, and so I showed up with that as well, and I started writing haiku just as a joke, and then I learned to love haiku. And then I started getting into the rhymey stuff and loved just quirky little rhymey poems. And then I started to get more serious on that. And then I loved, I started straying into more free-form poetry. And even though I am insecure with the title of poet, I basically have over 10 chapbooks that I have written as collections of the poems I've done over the past, I don't know, 20 plus years. And and when I look at who is Wayne with regard to my poetry, it's not any one particular poem that defines me. It looks like the collection itself. And I'll talk more about that sometime in the future. Maybe I'll do one of these sessions just about my poetry and my relationship with poetry. And there's a spirituality part of who is Wayne, and that's where things start to get really kind of interesting. My relationship with religion got kind of weird, and so I didn't know what to do with that. And that was a loss because I was all in with the religious side, and I don't want to say that I wanted a piece of that. I still wanted to take some of that with me, so I didn't know how to do that, because I really love people who are spiritual on any level, or with any religion, so long as you are treating people wonderfully and with respect and treating them the way you want to be treated. I have no problem with anybody across the board. I'm just trying to find something that fits for me. How is the universe going to talk with me? And so I discovered that I had this horse, this mystical imaginary horse, a spirit guide, and it took me. This horse took me on a ride from a pub in Savannah, Georgia, to a shaman in Ithaca, New York. And it was a wonderful ride, and that's a whole nother session to discuss that. But as part of my artistic and spiritual practice, I just draw and meditate these horses. I just draw them over and over, and there are hundreds. I would even argue that there might be at least 1,000 of these things, because I've been doing this for years and years, and I just sketch them and ponder and think about life and where I'm going. Right now, the horse challenges me to figure out what I have to do next, because I finished up with the shaman in New York, in Ithaca, New York, and I had the now what, and I wanted to incorporate this feeling into my artwork. And right now, all I can do is this, but I keep doing it because I'm just letting it happen. And as long as I have this horse, and that I can just keep drawing her over and over and over again, I think I'm doing pretty good. Just recently, she sent me to a mall in Burlington, Mass, which is kind of wild and wacky, but it was a really interesting experience. And now my next move, unless I get something else, is I need to go to Fresno, California by way of Montana. And I really don't know what that means, but that's really what I have waiting for me in my list. But following the clues is just so much fun. These interesting clues that this horse, or this idea of the horse, whether she's real or not, it doesn't really matter, because it's been a real fun ride. I've gone places I never would have gone if not for a mystical, magical pony telling me where to go. So absolutely no answers for who is Wayne. We did figure out kind of sort of who Wayne is, but the final question, or the final two questions, is, will I ever know? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I need to. And I realize I have not been sharing any artwork while I'm talking about this. The point was to share artwork, so I'll do that. So sometimes I feel like I need to take an epic journey that would impress Joseph Campbell, and my logical self, the adult self, knows that the journey is going to end up right back where I came from, right here, right under my nose. But the idealistic me still thinks that there needs to be an epic journey. And by the way, these larger sketches are what I've gone further into, and these are a combination. I call them doodle art, because they are somewhere in between doodling and artwork, because there is a basic structure that I give to them. I'll draw them in pencil, and then I will work them. And so once I get the composition down, I will detail them as doodles. I will just let it happen. And that's where these come from. And right now, I have a set of 15 or so of them hanging in a restaurant in Granby, and so I'm pretty happy with that. And see if we can inspire some people down there in Granby, or maybe sell a couple of pieces. Back to Will I Ever Know? Sometimes I also feel like I need to paint or draw an epic piece of work that would have made Van Gogh or Picasso hang up their brushes. Is that going to happen? I don't think so. But I don't want to give up the hope, give up the dream, because I still have this 10-year-old Wayne inside me that says, yeah, that could happen. So right now I just go back to my studio and I sketch things and feel all the places that I've gone, and that wasn't a stumble. I actually feel these places that I go to, and I feel these places that I have not been to, the places I long to go to, the places that I don't even know where they are. So it's a really interesting. That's why those 4 words I mentioned earlier really hold strong in my brain, in my heart, because I do have that longing for something in some place, but I can't quite figure out where that is. So I continue to come in here and I draw and I sip my tea, and hopefully I'll get these out there hanging in more places. That's my plan, is to this set of drawings is to frame some more and get them out there. So will I ever know? I really don't know if I will ever know. But the main question is, does it really matter? No. I will continue to come into my studio and I will continue to search for a way to search for Wayne. Yeah, confusing as it is, I'm on a meta journey. I'm on a journey to find a journey. I'm trying to find a way to find Wayne. And that's kind of what makes this whole midlife identity crisis actually wonderfully beautiful, as difficult as it is, because I don't know where it's going, and at least I have a direction I can stumble along, and just to know in the end that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, because I know that if I can make somebody else's world just a tiny bit better by creating art, I have succeeded. And that's really all I need to go on. That was my presentation. My name is Wayne, and thank you for listening to my ramblings.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. It gives us so much to think about for even the journeys that we're all taking as artists. I love how you broke it all down for everyone to really think about it. I'm going to segue over. Did you want to show us a little bit of your creative space? Because I think we all as artists love to see each other's creative spaces. Would you be willing?
Certainly. Yeah, let me just don't forget there's WayneGagnon.com, and you can see most of this artwork is out there, either there or links to my my Instagram, and I actually have a blog out there, and I try to maintain all of them, and so all my art is relatively up to date on these things. Let me take you on a tour of my studio. All right. So here are hundreds of those ponies that I had talked about earlier. My studio is relatively small. It's got some closet space for the stuff I don't use that much. Let me get rid of this. And stuff hanging on the walls all over. One thing about this, got a phone call one Sunday morning from my ex-wife saying, Wayne, and she described this. and she found it at a tag sale. So I did this back in 2005-ish, and it ended up in a tag sale. And I'm still trying to figure out if that's success or failure. I'm not really sure, but I find it absolutely fun that I bought my own work at a tag sale for $1. So here it is. These are some of the paintings that have come from those little sketches. They're acrylic on canvas. This was my, I think the paintings in this room were my first step into grown-up paints. I typically I started and learned from my mother with craft paints. She always had craft paints around the house, and so I learned on craft paints. I love the consistency of craft paints, but the colors and the liveliness of the more professional acrylic paints is the trade-off. So it's an interesting trade-off. I actually a couple of days ago I started painting with acrylic paints again, and really the craft paints, and really enjoying that as well. So I may go back and forth. And this is my work desk. It's an absolute mess. I stumbled through this. I actually went off script, and that was probably not a good thing, because I stumbled through my presentation. So forgive me for that. And I have a view of the backyard. I don't think you can see that. More paintings and storage, my library, poems and novels, and a true encyclopedia from 1968, I believe. I got that as a kid. And more workspace here with the cutter and storage, and that's my mannequin and G.I. Joe. And that is actually my G.I. Joe from when I was a child. Yeah, weirdly, I never enjoyed him as a warrior. I more liked him as just a regular guy. So right now, he's just a regular guy hanging out in my studio. More library work with of art books. I love thumbing through art books and coffee table books, things like that. These are paintings that were done based off of sketch cards. Those little sketch cards that I was showing you. I picked out my favorite ones and put them on canvas. This is, I don't know if you recognize this guy, but he is from Godspell. He is the Jesus character from Godspell. I actually watched that a couple of years ago, and it was it was quite a neat experience. I love musicals. And then one of my bigger pieces, I love Frida Kahlo, and I did a painting of her and gave it to my honey, and then I realized that that she needed to be bigger. And so I did a larger version of Frida, and that was one of those paintings that took such a wonderfully long time because I did the original painting. I did the 4 or 5 or 6 sketches to get to the original painting, and then from the original painting to blow it up, I digitized it and did the good old-fashioned pattern so that I could draw a larger version of this to get it onto the larger canvas. And there's also a tiny version of her because I needed to do a color study. And as another part of building bridges, I'm part of a group that answered the We Are for Freedoms exhibit that's at the UMass Museum of Contemporary Art. And there's a group of us, Lisa's included, and a lot of folks in the audience are included in that group. And this is my answer to the We Are for Freedoms exhibit. And that's another whole discussion that I can have another time. So keep your eyes open for that. So there was the 360 of my studio.
Thank you so much, Wayne. That was so inspiring. I just
Thoughts
love.
and questions?
Let's see. We're getting some comments that thank you, Wayne. It's wonderful to get to know you through your art. You call that a mess? No way. I love your creative space, Wayne. It looks great. They love meditative, repetitive drawing concepts. Thank you, Wayne. A lot of really great comments. So thank you so much. I'm going to take you off a spotlight. And so I really appreciate you spending this evening with us.
Thank you.
Sharing your creative process, because I think it's really interesting and inspiring to everyone. So thank you so much. So I'm going to end.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to end this with, thank you, Wayne, for sharing this with us. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening's session. Remember to visit the Building Bridges website for updates and to register for the upcoming live sessions. I encourage you to check out our virtual gallery, which showcases over 70 artists and makers. While there, please show your support by signing the guest book. Have a great evening, everyone, and thank you.